to Jonathan Taylor. Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor made a man miss the line of scrimmage and then runs it into pay dirt for a one-handed INT. Are you kidding me? Kenny Moore.
What a play by Nyheim Hines.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. So we have a video for you today that's a little bit of a mashup of everything we've kind of been saying over the last couple of weeks since the season ended that, you know, how should the Colts address all of these needs that the Colts have during the free agency? Should it be during the draft? Should it be by trade? How should we do this? Well, I'm just going to break down a couple of positions that are of need and see what can we think of? What can we think of? What are the best logical reasonings to want to go out and get somebody, right? Well, first thing we got to talk about is the quarterback, right? Because that's just what we do here. We're in the need for a quarterback. We absolutely need one. At least that's from what Chris Ballard has said. And, you know, there's a lot of options still left on the table, you know? A lot of options here. So we're talking about free agency. We're talking about trades, right? Well, I would not be mad at the possibility of trading for a quarterback. It just depends for the right price. And normally, Ballard knows what he's doing when he's talking about his prices, right? I mean, he said he doesn't want to get in a bidding war with anyone, and I don't want him to either. I would rather have him spend his draft picks trading up to get somebody in the draft if that's what they want to do. If they want to throw draft picks at somebody, do it in the draft this year and get the guy of the future for yourselves. Now, if we're going to talk about trading for somebody, you know, there's options. I made a video about Wentz. Not sure if this will go up before it, but I think this will go up after maybe. If not, be sure to go check that one out. Wouldn't mind getting Carson Wentz, but I think the issue you have is that Wentz is just getting too much. I think a lot of people are just asking for too much when it comes to him, you know? 2 firsts is definitely not something I want to invest in. And, you know, we got the guys like Sam Darnold. That's another one that we've been hearing a lot of. You know, I wouldn't mind a nice little trade there for Sam Darnold. I think that would be a great asset. A lot of people have been talking about Derek Carr, possibilities for that. I think that would be a great option for Indianapolis. You know, I don't think you'd have to give up too much, but it's weird because, you know, all of this is just circumstantial based off of what the other teams are wanting to give up, right? That's how much are we going to actually have to give them. My opinion, I would much rather the Colts try and go up and get somebody in the draft that they feel is ready to go now, or somebody that they just think can be the future quarterback for them right now and in the future. You know, whether that be Wilson or whether that be Fields, whether that be Lance, whatever they decide to do, I'm going to trust Ballard in that circumstance. Left tackle is a little different. There's a lot of left tackle options, both in free agency and in the draft. We kind of talked about that on the stream. We talked a lot about it. There's probably honestly, I think there's about 8 or 9 left tackles in this draft right off the bat that I would say I'd be comfortable with giving up a first or second pick for in this draft. Easy. 7 or 8 or 9 of them, to be honest. There's a lot of them that are really good and can be day one starters with a little bit of training this offseason. I truly believe that. When you're talking about trades or free agency, a couple names come to mind. You think of Villanueva, right? But he's a little older, so you may not want to do that, but he was very solid. He's been very good across his career. So if you were going to get somebody that's older, you want somebody that's really good, and Villanueva would be that. And then another name comes up, and that's Trent Williams, right? Big guy. You know, he's older, but he's very good, and he's going to want a big payday, but he's very good at what he does. The name that I would preferably love, the name that I would love to get, the one that I would just be my preference, is Orlando Brown from the Ravens. Because he's already stated he does not want to play right tackle for anyone. He does not want to play right tackle for them. He wants to be a left tackle. And the Ravens can't make that happen because they're already paying Ronnie Stanley the biggest left tackle contract in the history of the NFL. So that's not going to work. Is he off to something else? Could Indianapolis trade, get him for, a decent draft pick, maybe a first or a second? It's a possibility. That would be my preferred option. I would love Orlando Brown. Younger, very solid. I would love that at left tackle. And then we got to think about edge rusher, right? Some people have said edge rusher is more important than left tackle right now. For me, that's not true, but a lot of people have that same opinion. But I do agree edge rush is very important right now. There's a lot of options that go into this in free agency. I don't know how Ballard would trade for somebody like that in that situation, so I'm not even going to really try to think about it. But then again, outside of the first round, there's not a lot of defensive ends that really impress me with their pass rushing ability. There's just not a lot of them in this draft. There's a couple of them that'll go in the first round, but I don't know if Ballard's going to make that happen or not. Because they're going to have to give up that 21st pick. They'd be able to get somebody decent in the first round with that 21st pick, but they wouldn't get them anywhere else. So I think it'd be best to address the edge rush in free agency or in trade versus trying to go for somebody in the draft, because I would rather you try to focus on getting a tackle or a quarterback in the draft versus edge rush. And then, people talk about receiver, right? We've put out a couple videos recently of some big name receivers that are probably going to be gone or have the chance to be gone. We don't think that they're actually going to get these players, but it's news to talk about. You're talking about trading for a guy in free agency. I just don't know who would impress Chris Ballard enough to want to bring him in. Because we still have Michael Pittman. We still have Paris Campbell. Chris Ballard says he believes in him. They're re-signing Zach Pascal. So there's 3. And most likely they're going to keep Ashton Doolin around. And there's the possibility of T.Y. Hilton coming back or not coming back. So I would think they would address the receiver in the draft, to be honest. I think they would probably do that versus signing somebody in free agency. I heard a weird rumor about OBJ being up for sale. I don't know about that. I don't know if Ballard would want to take that on, especially for the price tag that would probably ensue. But if you could get him for a good price, I would love OBJ. But I just don't know how much he's actually going to be worth getting, right? And then you talk about cornerback. There's the possibility that, TJ Carey's not going to be back. It sounds like he's going to be back, though. But, Xavier Rhodes may not be back. Just depends. Because, cornerback coach is gone. He may not want to be there. He might want to just go where the money is, maybe. So, that's another position that I think the Colts need to address early in the draft. Within the first 3 rounds, I think they should get another corner that can help solidify this group. Because, again, it's still young, still inexperienced, and all of the things combined. I think that corner is a very important position to continue to bring in fresh bodies to see who can perform at the highest level. We talked a lot about Paul Debo. That's the guy that definitely I think we should take a look at if he's not gone too early. And there's a lot of other guys that can come into the mix. And again, guys, this isn't in any particular order necessarily. It's just, talking about specific players. So, quarterback position, I would be okay with a few other players potentially being in trading, but I would rather, if we're going to give up huge draft compensation, I'd rather go up and get our guy of the future in the first round. For tackle, there's options in both, but my preferred one would be get to Orlando Brown from the Ravens. That would be my preferred. Edge rush, we'd rather address in free agency. And then you talk about the receiver. I think we should address that later in the draft. And then I think for corner, there are a couple decent options, but I wouldn't mind the Colts drafting somebody early at the cornerback position for sure. All right, that's going to do it for this, guys. Let me know what you think. What do you think the Colts should do with each of these positions of need? And tell me, would you prefer them attack this by trade, by free agency, or within the draft? Which would you prefer them do? Thank you guys so much for tuning in.